Hello, and for those of you new to my channel, welcome. This is a minor treat of sorts, I guess you could say. Doing a tiny bit of streaming of this clicker game, which I sometimes swap into. Singularity. It is annoyingly no way to control the volume levels. I have volume at 2% on my computer, and it's irritatingly loud in my headphones. One of the many problems with this game. These clicker games take advantage of brain pathways that sometimes can be considered akin to gambling in some ways. There's things with like kind of loot boxes in game currency, which you can just earn. I've never spent a cent on this game or refused to. The guy who made this kind of a prick. And that he keeps putting mechanics in the game that are clearly designed for no other purpose than to get people to spend as much time on it as possible. But the one redeeming feature of it, and the one reason I thought I might stream a little, is there's some edutainment value in this. You can't see my air quotes in my hands, but it's clear a lot of it, the research was no more deep by the game author than looking at a few Wikipedia articles, but sometimes he has interesting things you've never heard of. The space section here, occasionally in particular, not many people learn about the universe beyond just like the Earth and the Moon. Heck, I can't count how many people I've heard refer to the galaxy as the universe, which is blatantly inaccurate when there are many, many galaxies out there. Sometimes refer to things between planets within our solar system as interstellar. That's inaccurate. Interstellar means between stars. Intrastellar would mean within the same star system. Terminology matters. These have Greek, Latin roots. It's not that hard, but people just don't bother to get the terms right, and like a bunch of assholes, honestly, hate being corrected. Some of these is like from sci-fi writing and stuff, which I'll do some book reviews eventually. Sci-fi, how degenerate it's become these days. It was never actually that great to begin with. It's easy to see with rose-tinted goggles, but I've read, for instance, been working on Childhood's End, which is thick and is replete with some absolutely nasty elitism, among other things. Scientists are the only logical people. And like many sci-fi authors who tend to come from a physics background, the guy who wrote it understands very little biology and evolution. He has this idea, for instance, it's not human nature to be afraid of the dark, and only through evolution on area in star system where we have nights do we become inured to. Actually, it's the opposite. The fear of the dark is something that's been evolutionarily selected for because we live on a planet with night. And they're predators at night. And so humans, not every species, particularly species that do the hunting at night, are not programmed to be afraid of the dark in the same way. But humans have evolved a fear of the dark because we live on a planet with nights. If we lived on a planet that was tidally locked, or like in the book Childhood's End, had so many stars that there was almost never night, night would mean nothing to us. The fear of dark is not something that's just universal across all life. Of course, people don't understand biology. Always think they understand biology. It pisses me off, rather, as someone who's studied biology, how much people outside of it, they treat it like it's a less serious science than physics or chemistry, where people wouldn't pretend to know better than a physicist how a black hole works, or better than a chemist how some complex molecules assembled. Yet they think they know better than biologists all the time. That just shows their ignorance and stupidity. Heck, you can even see things here. As flower in this game, which I thought I'd comment on. as a harsh criticism of even the bad research. When this game, as flowers were emerging, and predatory wasps called Sveti began collecting pollen to feed its larvae. Perhaps it was easier in stinging a fly and dragging the carcass to nest. Switch from hunter to gatherer set the wasp a new evolutionary path. Well, most of that is fine. The perhaps it was easier implies something I often see from people who don't study biology, even when they're using real credible sources and just don't understand what they're reading. That is applying an intentionality to evolution. Evolution is not intentional. It's not like this thing would be easier, and so life forms somehow develop an ability. No, evolution is a series of random mutations. Random, let me emphasize this, that are selected for once they've already come into existence because they provide an advantage. The way I might consider this is, say you have a jar of marbles, and they're a bunch of different colors, and you random mix them with other jars. Sometimes you get different color mixes. That's where same genes are mixed differently. Maybe a particular color mix has some advantage. And once in a while, you get a new marble that'll just appear of a different color. If it somehow advantages the mix it's in, as the organism that has many genes, if a gene is advantageous in a particular combination, that is, genes can only exist in combination with other genes of an organism, an evolutionary pathway might not work in a particular environment, in a particular creature, but a certain trait may be selected for later. That's why, we have wings, and while they've evolved a bunch of times with convergent evolution, they haven't evolved off of every single evolutionary line. Has to be a niche available, has to be an organism that has some potential to evolve that way. But I'm getting beyond myself. The point here is that there's no intentionality to evolution. You do not see. That's like the old Lamarckian bullshit of a giraffe stretches its neck so its offspring have all necks. No, that's not how it works. A wasp does not evolve to collect pollen because it's easier and therefore somehow. No, there was a mutant wasp that was born to a parent that was, since the mutation has to occur in the germline, the parent didn't have that trait. The mutant wasp, suddenly born out of a wasp without this trait, started collecting pollen, and it turned out to be a niche that was evolutionarily beneficial. That is, its offspring survived more than that of its siblings that didn't have this trait, kind of thing. Mutation is the driver of evolution. Without it, there would be no genetic diversity that could be selected for. There'd be no evolution. And mutation is a random process. It's a flaw in what would otherwise be the identical replication of a line of individuals. And while there's debate within biology about whether maybe some reproduction can't be perfectly genetically accurate, because if it did, it would lead to dead-end lines that none of the offspring would maybe end up becoming mutant lines that adapted to changes in the environment, or whether, that doesn't make sense mathematically. Well, there's debate in those things, and I'm not going to comment on which side is actually winning that debate. It's not important so much as the fact all credible biologists can agree there's no intentionality to evolution. The way people who try that nonsense are creationists. People are not scientists. They pretend to be scientists. They're not credible. They rarely have scientific education. They don't make falsifiable hypotheses, because if they did, they would be consistently proven wrong. They're essentially religious people who are trying to push their ideas into science with no factual basis. Anyhow, you can find little bits like that in some of the nodes, unfortunately, because this guy I don't know if there are any more here. Most of them are good. Because I'm pretty sure this game author just pulled stuff out of Wikipedia. And so every now and then I see something jarring in the biology. But a lot of the time you learn things that are useful. Despite that. Something about, in the Triassic period, long before flowers, the first seed-producing plants appear, including conifers. These primitive plants are gymnosperms, which means naked seeds. yeah, that's a bit of evolutionary history most people probably didn't know about. So cool. This guy who made this game may make something that it's just designed to keep you clicking, but it does have the benefit of teaching people a thing or two. I'll give them that. Still, uh, not fond of the loot box like mechanics at times. I'm not fond of the now there's Darwinian giveaways where you can get a certain number of cubes every day, but to do it you have to go to a screen where it's full of things where this is the free ones where you're being bombarded with essentially ads for the not free. It's nonsense. It's somebody who I think didn't want to put the work into making a really good game, and so instead made something as addictive as possible to get the maximum financial returns for the minimum in programming effort. And maybe I'm not giving him enough credit. Maybe he started just wanting to teach people something. He wants it to be addictive so people learn. I don't know. I do know that there's some things about the game design that rub me the wrong way. So, yeah, clickers are kind of silly, but maybe some of you enjoyed watching this. And a lot of my just talking because there's not a ton to do in these. I'm going to go stream Hearts of Iron in a second, but just catching up with this a little. There's dailies, and there was a error in Steam, so I had to verify the integrity of the game files on Hearts of Iron before I could load it up, unfortunately. Oh yeah, another thing that bothers me is the money exploration, which clearly just pulled out Wikipedia articles, but ones that were written, well, and very basic internet stuff for common consumption. Some of them were clearly written by people who have tried to rewrite the past to just fit a capitalist dogma. There's blatantly inaccurate stuff like, for instance, there's very little evidence of the history of barter actually being how humans did things. This was something certain capitalist theorists pushed early on. It's become almost a dogma. No, archaeology shows that humans relied on gift economies for most of human history, with barter actually being relatively rare. And eventually you see currency and you see the modern system taking over everything, but gift economy is what most humans relied on for most of human history. That's very clear from studying, very old, we're talking sometimes like Stone Age sites and tribal societies that did not develop beyond that technology level. One of the things isolate societies, which give us a glimpse of the past. There's a lot of things, but it's very clear at this point that it didn't play out the way that exploration event puts things, which is just full of capitalist dogma. There's zero question in my mind this guy made this game is not only capitalist, but so blind in his capitalism that he can't even see criticisms or inaccuracies in the capitalist theory. I mean, Adam Smith would have a bone to pick with some of the things this guy puts in his stuff, in his events, because Adam Smith actually had a lot of criticisms of the way capitalism was working out that people forget about. He, for instance, criticized, just to give you an example, not relevant exactly, but is in a way, professional associations and how groups of skilled professionals would form conspiracies against the general public. He might have been talking about, like, he would look at the way the American Medical Association limited availability of training spots for new doctors to keep salaries high by creating a physician shortage. Way back in like the 80s, the 70s, they pursued this agenda starting in the late 70s and continuing into the 80s and 90s, eventually reversing course and apologizing even for putting out blatantly inaccurate, supposedly accurate analyses saying we're headed towards a glut of physicians, which was never true and was a lie from the start. That's, oh, we made a mistake. No, it wasn't a mistake. It was a lie, an intentional lie. Adam Smith predicted stuff like that in the 1800s, and as a criticism of capitalism, and he criticized monopolies relentlessly. Even yet, people say, "Oh, it's capitalism," and they make excuses for monopolies, which Adam Smith said could be destructive and wrote about. And let's not forget people like Marx, who criticized capitalism from an entirely different perspective. But you get people like this guy who made this game, clearly capitalist realist, clearly doesn't do much deeper investigation of most things than Wikipedia articles. But sometimes you get cool stuff like propylids. The Orion Nebula is packed with propylids, protoplanetary disk circling a prenatal star. In 2023, within propylid D203506, the Webb telescope spotted methyl cation, the first known presence in space of a key molecule for carbon-based life to develop. Cool. Something most people don't know. Also, probably something from Wikipedia. But this is my glimpse of this game. I probably won't do another video. Maybe someday. I just thought I'd treat some of you folks to a little bit of a reaction to it. I wouldn't recommend playing this game. The guy who made this is just trying to get people into spending buggerishly large amounts of money on buying the in-game currency if you do that, which I've never done and never will, because I am broke and because I don't reward shitty behavior from devs that encourages that kind of thing. But it's like pay-to-win MMOs. This guy is looking for whales, and that upsets me. And people who look for whales tend to be apologists for capitalism because it's blatant greed, and greed is good ideology. Is the whole way you would ever design a game like that. So I guess it's not surprising. Wish you all the best. Look out for my Heart's Iron videos. Look out for my Avorion videos, my Wildermyth videos. I'll be doing a new campaign soonish. My Vampire videos and my Potion Craft videos. And eventually I'll do probably some more pop-up dungeons someday. And yeah, I got a lot of ones in peril, and I just started streaming Age of Wonders multiplayer game on the rare occasions I can get a friend of mine to do those with me. So it's all cool. I'm trying to put out lots of varied content, and hopefully some of you enjoy it. I gotta survive. I'm struggling with long COVID and with the shitty welfare system we have in the U.S. That's patchwork and state and federal programs and things like asset limits. I can't get one of the programs that would be applicable to me because I have more than $1,000 in assets. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm disabled and I have to run my assets to zero almost because I was frugal enough to save money when I was healthy. And then I got a virus, a plague that was going around and disabled me, and now I'm being punished for that. It's insane. I'll admit Congress is trying to fix that, raise the asset limit to something more reasonable, $10,000, but means tested welfare is stupid. It's just an excuse to make people feel like it's only for the poor, so the middle class won't support the programs, and so the programs won't get expanded. It's not about denying help to the rich. It's actually about making sure that the rich don't have to pay more taxes, support more welfare. It's about helping the rich, not hurting them. Don't buy into the propaganda about means tested stuff. It's nonsense designed to hurt people. Anyways, wish you all the best. Look out for my other videos.